Today we're gonna look at the same cocktail made in 3 ways. We'll be making the Jack Rose with 3 different grenadines, roses, homemade from store-bought pomegranate juice, and a version made using fresh pomegranates. That fresh grenadine, I made a video for that a while back, and I'll link to it here in the episode's description. But in the one I made that I'm using today, it's a little bit different because I made it using a fresh whole pomegranate. And that's where this juicer really comes in handy, because you can use pomegranates that are quartered, you can use grapefruit, you can use lemons, limes, and really anything else that will fit inside here, you can juice it. Now when it comes to the 3 pomegranates we're using today, I did bricks test each one of these, and they are all about 50 bricks. The roses is a little bit sweeter than the other 2, but the other 2 are identical. I've had this idea for a while, and mainly I just want to see the difference between a store-bought juice used for making grenadine and then fresh juice made for grenadine. When I tasted these on their own side by side just earlier today, there's a significant difference. The fresh is much brighter in its fruit flavor, and the one made from POM Wonderful, which is a brand I use, it's still good, but it has this almost like Coca-Cola like flavor, and it just doesn't taste nearly as fresh. But this is where they need to be put into a cocktail to really be tested, because that's what we're going to use them in, and that's what's going to matter the most. As I was thinking about this, I remembered a post by Darcy O'Neill at Art of Drink, where he shared some of the research he had done on old grenadine recipes. He found recipes that call for a flower called clove pinks, and he even found recipes for clove pink syrup from as far back as 1788. In his post, he shares several historic grenadine recipes that do not contain any pomegranate. For me, this brings up the question about roses. Is it just a red sugar syrup that the modern cocktail community frowns upon, or is roses much more accurate in historical recipes than using pomegranate syrup? Now, Trader Vic used grenadine as one of his main mixers, and he bought those syrups. So where's the timeline in all of this? When was it clove pink syrup, pomegranate syrup, or red colored sugar syrup? Now, I'll leave links to the Art of Drink post and the video he did on grenadine, but to expand upon it just a little bit further, and Darcy makes note of this as well in his post, but when the craft cocktail revival really kind of took off in the early 2000s, the consensus was that real grenadine was made from pomegranate and was nothing like roses. And everyone just agreed and went with that. And I'm not saying that roses is spectacular or should be used all the time, but when recreating a simple classic cocktail, those make big differences. Having said all of that, let's make 3 Jack Rose cocktails, all with grenadine-ish syrups, most likely none of which are accurate to when the drink was originally made. Now, each one of these I'm going to make at the same time so I can taste them all together. I've got 3 cocktails to make, so there's no gratuitous slow motion today. Okay, roses, POM Wonderful, fresh homemade. Just look at the colors between the 2. There's like a much deeper, darker, bright red color in the fresh compared to the POM Wonderful. I'm using 1.5 ounces of Applejack instead of 2 ounces. A lot of the historic recipes call for, I've seen 1.25 ounces, 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces. I'm not going to be drinking all these, and by just dialing it down a little bit, we can sort of taste our grenadine a little more than normally. I was gonna mix them up and taste them blind, but just looking at the color in the tin, I don't think that's possible. I'd have to actually blindfold myself because there's that big a difference. Colors don't always come through super accurate on camera, but there's a significant difference between the 3. The most sort of bright neon-ish is from roses. The most subdued is from the one made from POM Wonderful. And then, you know, pretty bright, vibrant, little pinkish is the homemade version. So let's try Jack Rose cocktail with roses. Let's start with the roses. That's not bad at all. I think if you blindfolded me, I probably wouldn't know that was Rose's Grenadine. It's just, it's mainly like the Applejack and the lemon and then the sweetness. I mean, they're definitely different, but surprisingly, they're not that different. The Applejack comes through way more in the POM Wonderful Grenadine than it does in Roses. And I assume Roses just has more flavoring going on when the POM Wonderful is just pomegranate juice. They're both good. Homemade, fresh. The fresh one's unique. The Applejack is not as prevalent as the other two, but the lemon juices, there's just like a little bit more. It's not even the tartness or the acidity. It's just more lemon flavor coming through. If you were to take that homemade grenadine, just taste it on its own. It does have this nice citrus flavor to it. It's not just the tartness or like the acidity of it. It has like this flavor. I think that's helping like intensify the lemon juice in this one. Now that we're going a little deeper here, this is like unmistakably Roses. Now, you know, if you're watching this, as I talked about, like I'm biased, but what is the bias I have here? I mean, I can't even explain, because you might think like, oh, like obviously the homemade one that I have on hand, and I did a whole video on it, that's the one that I want to be the best, but it's not really the case, because I have a real affinity for Roses. I grew up drinking Shirley Temple, so that's a flavor that I enjoy. I don't think Roses is bad. I like the way it tastes. Whatever that taste is, I don't even know what it is. Whatever that is, I do enjoy the taste of Roses. And then the POM Wonderful, this is way easier. If you needed grenadine like in a pinch, if you had a bottle of that on hand, or you froze some, you could have grenadine in a couple minutes. So this makes it way easier than having, you know, the fresh one. So is there a clear winner? Is there one that's better than the rest? I don't think so. I mean, I prefer the one with the fresh grenadine, but is it appreciably better than the other two? I don't really think so. I think the differences are small, but the only way you're going to be able to know is if you do this yourself, and even better, if you do a real blind taste test. You're going to notice the Roses. I mean, that's for sure, but if you can get past the fact that it's Roses, you might actually enjoy it. I think it tastes pretty good. So that's it for this one. I'm Derek. This is Make and Drink. This was 3 Jack Rose cocktails. And, you know, if you really want to do a boss move here, you would go watch Darcy O'Neill's video. Get yourself a clove pink grenadine and then make 4 Jack Rose cocktails. Put them all side by side. Which one is best? They're all going to be good. That's the thing. All of these are good, simple, elegant cocktails that I enjoy. So the overall lesson of today is don't believe everything you read or hear or see on the internet. You just never know. You got to do a little digging on your own, because you never know. Maybe Big Pomegranate has been lying to us this whole time. See you on the next one.